Hello, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Joe Sharman. I've been a bodybuilder for over 30 years. First competed in the early 90s in 1993, and then I didn't compete again for 16 years until 2009 after a experience where I couldn't get feedback after the show. There was a lot of errors. Basically the whole thing was a bit of a mess, and I decided that competitive bodybuilding wasn't for me, not because I didn't enjoy it, but the bad experience at a show just put me off the idea of competing in a show. So I didn't compete again until 2009, and then from 2009 right through to 2019 I've competed in shows nearly every year since. I've also been the show promoter for the RBFA Lincolnshire / England for the last 3 years, and I've also been a judge as well. When I came back to bodybuilding in 2009, I realised that not much had changed with regards to technology and the methods with which shows are ran and organised and judged. Not that it's completely wrong, but there's always been room for improvement. So, being a competitor, a judge and a show promoter myself, I understand the frustrations for the promoter. You've got ticket sales to worry about, you've got registrations, you've got a hell of a lot of paperwork, especially the night before the show, getting these sheets ready for judges, the sheets ready for the compare, the sheets ready for the backstage guys, etc, etc, etc. It's a lot of work. Promotions, there's a lot of for a promoter, there's a lot of issues with communication. It's communicating with the backstage guys, the guy on the stage comparing the show, the judges and other organisers and helpers. Everyone's basically running around like blue ass flies trying to get the show to run smoothly. And then finally, another problem we have nowadays is issuing the results post show. It can be several days or weeks before websites are updated and show results are published. So it can be very difficult for the casual interest who's not attended the show to see how things are going. And you probably see on show day and social media, everyone's going, how did it go in the over 50s class? How did the first timers class go? And you're relying on someone that was there that actually took notes, which is fairly unlikely. As an athlete, I know the frustrations of the show running on time. You're backstage, you want to pump up, you want to be your best, you want to get there on stage looking absolutely crisp, and for no fault of anybody's, the show falls behind. Something goes wrong because of the organisation, one of the frustrations of the promoters, and then the athletes end up being pumped up too early or not having enough time to pump up, and they're just not ready. And when an athlete's spent 16-20 weeks dieting, not being at your perfect best when you want to be at your perfect best on stage can be extremely frustrating, especially if there's a gnat's whisker between a placing. So it's not easy for the athletes, and also the stress as well can cause overspill of water into the subcutaneous layer, which can totally ruin a physique. So that's one of the biggest frustrations for an athlete. And then after that, if you don't get a placing you want, trying to get feedback from a judge or a whole panel of judges is nigh on impossible, unless you actually know the judge and the judge knows you and they'll remember you. But the judges see 200 physiques on some shows all in one day. They've got no chance of remembering any individual from any class if they don't know them. And that's the same for all of the judges. So to get any real feedback from any show, unless you know the judge and they've kept an eye out for you, which they shouldn't be because they should be looking at all the other athletes as well, then getting feedback from a show is pretty much impossible to any accuracy or at a level that's valuable to the athlete. And finally, this frustration for the athletes is lack of transparency in the judging. You go to the show, you like to think that you've been judged fair and square, but you don't know for sure because you've got no way of knowing. So it leads the mind to wander into crazy theories about why you didn't place where you placed. So judging needs to be transparent in order for the athlete to feel that they've been judged fair and square. From a judge's perspective, you've got a lot of athletes on stage, and you need to be having an eye on everybody all at the same time. So to be concentrating on what you should be concentrating on, the comparisons pose for pose, you cannot be writing down the feedback that you would like to give the athletes. I've judged and I've tried my best. I tend to do my critique of a physique during the free posing round when I'm just looking at the one athlete, and then I write down where I think the athlete needed to improve. But it's a really, really tough job. You want a lot of physiques up there, class after class after class. So it is hard for you as a judge to be writing down the feedback that you would like to give back to the athletes that you know they deserve, because most judges have been competitors as well. So when the athlete asks you, you're unable to remember, and often, and I've experienced this, is you ask for feedback, they've not remembered you, so you get some kind of generic feedback which is of no value to the athlete at all. It can be often frustrating for judges if they're sharing a table with someone they know is judging an athlete favourably or unfavourably, or sharing a judging table with someone that's not a trained judge or is very poor at it. And then the final thing that's frustration for judges is you can all do a fantastic job of judging, and then when you pass your paperwork down to the end of the table, someone can add it up wrong, and then someone can give an incorrect placing. So there's a lot of frustration there for the judges, the athletes and the competitors at a show. So last year at the IBFA Doncaster show, a friend of a friend was invited to the show to look at the show from a comparison with bodybuilding and breakdancing, of all things. So basically the photographer at the show, he photographs breakdance competitions. At breakdance competitions, they have an electronic scoring system, which is a live broadcast on the day. So he invited Terrell along to the show, and Terrell spectated bodybuilding to see if there was any viability in transporting across what he'd been developing in the breakdance scene into the bodybuilding scene. As a show promoter, and the photographer knew that I do a lot of stuff electronically for organising my show, and I like to keep things really slick with as much tech as I can, he introduced me to Terrell, and we struck up a relationship, and we've had some meetings. I've been to see his system in place in a breakdancing competition, and it's a fantastic system. It's really fun for the breakdance competitors after a battle to see on a screen the scores as they come in live, and then see how they placed in the battle. It adds an interactivity for the audience, and really adds an extra dimension to the competition. So where are we now then? So after a few meetings with Terrell and going through how the bodybuilding scene works, and we've had lockdown, so lots of shows have been cancelled, and Terrell's had a lot of time to be working on his system, and he's now met up and partnered up with a designer from Germany called Nick, and Nick is a great software designer. Terrell is a great software coder, and what we're now looking at is a fully integrated management and judging system, which will take care of your event setup, your ticket sales, the registration, on-day organisation. That's really exciting, because on the day, where we are in the show can be output to any tablet or phone what's going on in the show. So an athlete backstage can look at where they are at where the show is on schedule, not on schedule, which classes have been done or not done, which one scores are in, so they can get an idea of where the show is running on or off time. The app will also adjust times accordingly to give estimated times of other classes starting. That will enable the guy on stage, the compere, the backstage guys, the athletes, everybody's all looking at the same information, but in a different way, because each different login will show what that person will need. And then we've got the fully integrated judging system, which is a paperless system. We're using a pad. It's got simple drag and drop not feedback, but we've gone for drag and drop improvement opportunities. So if you feel an athlete needs more condition, you just drag the condition over the athlete, job done. And if you think that athlete needs to work on the shoulders, you just drag an icon that says shoulders into that athlete. So it takes split seconds to be able to just drag and drop icons into an athlete's box, what you think they need to improve on. And that's really exciting. And then live results will be broadcast to a display. If you choose, you don't have to have that system, but you can have it part of this system or all the system. The idea is that you can get some interactivity from the audience by having a feedback on a very large screen showing the athletes' placings. It will be anonymous, so you won't see the judges' scores. You'll just see the numbers tallying up live and then being broadcast. Upon finishing the show, the system will then, you can assess your judges. So a show promoter can then look at an assessment of the judges' performance against their peers to see if they're performing well in classes or not so well, giving you an opportunity then to performance manage the judges to improve all-round judging. So how does this system work? Well, basically, it's going to be a rental system for a very, very nominal fee. It will save you hours and hours of time. When the show is finished, or even as each class finishes, the system can then output the live results not only to the in-house screen, but also to the promoters' social media pages and site, etc. And here's the really, really exciting bit. When the show's over, the athlete can go into their login, which they've made previously, and they can look at what the judges thought are their improvement opportunities. And as it's a fully integrated system, as more and more shows use the same system, then they can then accumulate feedback from show after show after show. So the athlete can get a really good picture of where they need to go to improve, to become a better athlete and get better placings. So how does this work? It's very simple. You rent the system for a very nominal fee. You then set up your show with the classes, etc., that you're going to be running at your show. Once you've set up your show, you then broadcast it for people to register. Athletes will also log in to create a login on the system with their Facebook or Google account, and they will register for the show from their login, and they will be able to register for other shows from that same social media login. It will also then connect to the system will then be your source of ticket sales as well, where you can just sell your tickets straight from the Woosh system. And we're hoping to launch this in June 2021 as a pilot at Matt Adams' show on the 2nd of June, I believe. But this is the reason for making this video, is to keep you all up to date with what's going on with the Woosh system. Yeah, this is going to be revolutionary. There may be teething problems at the start, but the vision we have for this system is going to revolutionize the way bodybuilding shows are run, both domestically and hopefully internationally. We need to get bodybuilding out of this laborious, political, paper-based, slow system. We're not living 100 years ago anymore. Bodybuilding shows have been passing bits of paper up and down since time began. We're in the 21st century now, and it's time that we brought bodybuilding to it. So thank you for listening to this video all the way till the end. Now, in order to get this system up and running, we do have a GoFundMe page, which will be in the description. So if you have belief in what I've been saying and this system can do a great thing for the scene, then please pledge. Any amount will be appreciated to get this thing up and running. Also, there is a link here in the description to the Woosh Bodybuilding Update group, where we will be keeping you all appraised of where the system is, and also looking for you to give feedback to us, the development team, on what your frustrations are, and we will look to integrate something into the system, which covers a lot of feedback that we're hopefully going to get for you from the group. So check out the link in the description and join the group to keep up to date with where we are. And please pledge a small amount to the GoFundMe page, because that will be much appreciated. We'll keep you up to date here. Thank you very much.